And welcome back to Wicked Warriors. So today, I thought it only seemed right, because it's Memorial Day weekend, that we go over our rights, because the people or the men and women that fight for our rights should not be the same people that are having their rights violated in the military by CPS. And it happens all the time. So I said, we're going to go over our rights today, as grandparents, parents, kinship, you know, and just as a regular person. It is our job to know what our rights are, because if we don't use them, we lose them. And it's time everybody started using their rights. So this is going to be a quick rundown. I'm not going to try and take up too much of anybody's time today, because I know it is a holiday weekend. So, first, let me say thank you to the men and women who fought for this country to give us our rights, and who are fighting every day to keep our rights in place. So, I want to thank you. So, the first thing is the government has no rights, it's an entity, it is not a person. Only humans have rights. Only you can give up your rights, and your rights cannot be waived by anybody but you. You can't give them to anybody, and no one else can use them. And the government cannot interfere with our rights unless we break the law. So I'm starting with that. The First Amendment actually has three parts to it. So everybody knows, oh, I have a freedom of speech. Yes, you do. Right? So it's part of that is freedom of speech and the right to um film people, right? And people will say in public, oh, you can't film me, you're going against my rights. Well, I got news for people. When you're in public, there is no expectation of privacy when you're in the public eye. Okay. The second thing is freedom of religion and expression. So there's only one thing that I know of, and I could be wrong. The only time that you do not have the freedom of speech, it's called the fighting doctrine. Look it up. Um, and that's where you threaten to do harm to somebody, because then you have a violation of somebody else's rights. Okay. And the right to assemble and the right to petition. So when CPS and these judges are telling you that you don't have a right to appeal their decisions or whatever the case may be, that is incorrect. It is the right of the people to access the court. Now, if you want to assemble, make sure it's peaceful, because you don't want to go out here burning people's shit down and starting fights. You want to assemble peacefully. Okay? So that's the first one. If you don't understand, everybody knows about their Second Amendment rights, right? First of all, you really need to understand that the Second Amendment is not just about guns, it is about any weapon. You have the right to bear arms. And what that really means is whatever you can carry, that's considered the right to bear arms. The Third Amendment is a little tricky, because it really does talk about the military. But the Third Amendment really is about consent to the government. Okay. The Fourth Amendment. Everybody talks about the Fourth Amendment. Oh, I have the right to privacy. I have the right to do whatever I want on my property. I can do, whatever. Keep my papers. You don't have to ID me, this, that, and the third. Most of that is true. And a lot of states they do now have laws that you must identify yourself. But there is no law that says you have to have a driver's license or a picture ID. Now, there's a difference between personal property and real property. Personal property can be moved. Like, this is my property. This paper right here is my property because I can move it. Your home is called real property because it has got a foundation and it cannot be moved. So your car is personal property. Your home is real property. Look this up. You don't have to believe me. Look it up. Now, the Fifth Amendment. My favorite saying is, you have the Fifth Amendment right to shut the fuck up. That's what it means. You don't have to talk to a lawyer, a CPS worker, a judge. You don't have to talk to anybody. But when you go to court and somebody calls you as a witness and you don't want to testify, or you're called as a witness, you can't just say, I'm pleading the Fifth. You have to say, under the Constitution of the United States, I am taking the Fifth Amendment so that I don't incriminate myself. Okay? You can't even answer your name. The first question you answer, you lose that Fifth Amendment right. So remember, shut up. Don't talk to these people, because 9 times out of 10, whatever you say to them, it's going to get twisted. It's going to get turned. It's not going to be right. It's going to be a complete mess. The Sixth Amendment right. I want everybody to look up the Sixth Amendment right. In the Sixth Amendment, it clearly states that you have the right to enjoy, the word enjoy is in there. You have the right to enjoy to face your accuser, right? Well, they're going to tell you that in civil cases, this doesn't apply. But CPS is a civil suit, okay? So if somebody makes an allegation and they're telling you that it was anonymous, how can there be a case? The state cannot, let me say it again, the state cannot be your accuser unless the CPS worker or the police department eyewitnessed it. Now, if it's an anonymous call, how can anybody from the state be an eyewitness? They can't. Make sense? So you have the right to enjoy facing your accuser and make them produce the accuser. Now, if they don't want to produce the accuser, you take your happy behind up to circuit court, you file a petition to unseal the complaint. Nothing, let me say it again, nothing in this digital world is anonymous. Nothing. I don't care what they're telling you. We're in a digital world. We're not analog. We're in a digital world. Which brings me to the other part of the Sixth Amendment. You also have a right to a speedy trial. Now, if you're not ready to go to trial, you can waive that right. But if you want to win, don't waive that right, because then they have to produce their case within a week, maybe 2. You have the right to a jury trial. Yes, even in civil cases, you have a right to a jury trial, and we'll talk about that next. You have the right to be informed of all allegations, the right to confront your accuser, the right to subpoena witnesses, the right to have assistance of counsel. Now, if you've ever been arrested, this is how I know the Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. If you do not, wait a minute, you have the right to remain silent. If you give up that right, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you. Okay, so pretty much they're talking about the Fifth Amendment. But go look at the Fifth Amendment, look at the whole Constitution, and tell me where the word lawyer is in that Constitution. It's not. It says counsel. Look up the legal word of counsel. Does not say lawyer. I'm just saying, because I know I've known my Miranda rights. So I had to go back and look at it, right? So it was right. Not one time did it say you have the right to a lawyer. It says you have a right to counsel. I'm just saying. Hold on, I think somebody's trying to get on. So let me see if we can get him on. I don't know how to get him on. Hold on one second while I try and get somebody on. All right, let's see if he can get in now. So anyway, that's what the Seventh Amendment brings about, right? So the Seventh Amendment, and I wrote this down. I wrote it all down because there's a lot to learn. The Seventh Amendment says, in any suits of common law, the right to a trial by jury shall be preserved. It doesn't say that you can't have a jury trial in a civil case. It says that you have a right to reserve that right. It says you have a right to bring about a jury trial. Hey, look at.
Hey, I'm sorry, guys. My niece just passed away from cancer,
Oh,
and I
I'm sorry to hear that.
and I was on the phone with my sister. Yeah, I posted it on my Facebook page, but that's the first time that I got to speak to my sister, or my sister-in-law, I should say. So, what are we talking about here today?
Well, I just quickly went through 1 through 7. So if you want to elaborate on any of them, like the First Amendment, you have the right to religion and expression. You have the right of freedom of speech, the right to assembly, and the right to petition the courts
Which is constantly violated by CPS
and the courts.
and the family courts. Yes.
Yes. And that's what I said. If they're telling you that you can't do that, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
Because how can it be in the Constitution and then you think you're above the Constitution and telling people that they don't have the right to petition the courts?
I hear it every day, Tiff.
Well, yeah, I do too. But what I'm saying is they can say that all day long, but it falls under the First Amendment.
Yeah. But until we can get the courts or the judicial system to follow that, what are we going to do?
Well, that's what I said at the beginning. You know, we have people, the whole reason this weekend exists is because of the men and women that fought for this country to keep us as a free nation to have these rights, and they shouldn't be violating the rights that these people have fucking died for.
True story.
Right? You can't make it up. You can't make this up. This is a national holiday.
No.
Right? So, and then the third one, I was saying it's a little tricky, the third one, because it talks about the military, but it's really about consent, right? They have to have your consent.
Yeah.
And so let me read what I wrote down, because I had to, I have to write myself notes. It says the Third Amendment, it's about your consent. And these are a part of our inalienable rights, which are natural rights, right? They don't come from the government. They come from our creator, no matter who you believe in, Allah, Buddha, God, whoever. And in those same rights are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Correct.
And then the Fourth Amendment, I just briefly went over because I was waiting on you to come on. It says the right to be secure in your persons. We got some feedback.
Wait, my other line is ringing. I'll be right back.
Okay. So you have the right to be secured on, in their persons, right to life, and papers. And again, that goes back to you as a person, your children, your grandchildren, whoever you got guardianship over, because these rights also are rights for children, right? Because if you read the Constitution, excuse me, it says all persons born in the United States have these rights. All persons born. Just like the 14th Amendment, right? This is, I think, the 14th Amendment, from what I've been reading, because I got all these books on all these, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, all that. The 14th Amendment is the one that is most controversial right now, because people aren't understanding that, and I'm not against the immigrants, okay? I'm Greek. My grandparents and their ancestors came over here, they weren't United States citizens, but I am. Once their feet hit American ground, soil, they're protected under the 14th Amendment. If you don't believe me, look it up. Under the 14th Amendment, there's the due process clause, and that's what most people don't get when they go to court, right? And when you do go to court and you insert your rights, now I've been doing this for almost 35 years. I am the oldest advocate out here, to my knowledge. I'm not an attorney, I'm an advocate. Actually, I'm just a big mouth blonde bitch. That's what I am. And they tell you that your constitutional rights don't apply in family court. And I've heard this, had a whole article done on it. I did the article with the news reporter. They're lying, because if you read the Constitution, it's very clear in there that judges have to take an oath to uphold not only the United States Constitution, but the Constitution of their state. And when they fail to do that, then you can automatically move your case to federal court, because they have now violated your rights. And the biggest rights that people are hearing that are being violated is the 14th Amendment, where they are not allowing people to be brought in on their behalf with a subpoena to testify. Or I've heard of some judges, now I wish a judge would tell me to shut up and sit down. But anyway, that they don't get due process in dependency court. Well, that's a lie too, because technically there is no dependency court. There's no family court. It's all administrative court. Okay. We'll get into how you can differentiate the two. So any of that stuff, just remember, it's all civil first off, and it's all administrative court. A real court order has the seal of the court, the judge's signature, and the clerk's signature. If it doesn't have any of that on there, it's not a court order. It's an administrative order. So I told you I wasn't going to keep y'all long. I want to continue this with Spanny because Wicked is going through some stuff right now, and I understand. So I hope everybody has a great Memorial Day. Stay safe out there. Don't drink too much. And thank everybody, men and women, who have served this country to keep us safe and to keep that Constitution in place. You thank them this weekend. And I'm going to thank my dad. Thank you, Dad. I love you. And with that, I'm going to end the show.